Hello, hello! Welcome back to Brenda's Books. This is episode 15 of season 2. Thank you for coming back to hear more of Sarah's War. Today we are on chapter 17, Back and Forth. Here we go. I requested the mambo, Nate yells in my ear. What? Who in this room is going to want to dance to that? Me, he cries with mock exasperation. And after everyone sees me dance to that, they will want to too. I laugh out loud. Naturally. Okay, maybe after they see you, he amends. Come on, don't you want to? It'll be fun. He's absolutely right. My adrenaline kicks in as a clipped mambo beat fills the air. All right, let's do it, I say. An enormous grin splits Nate's face. He clutches my hand with his as we leap into an old, once familiar dance routine. Get out of the way, everybody! He hollers. Nobody really listens until they realize how much space we demand, and that they might get kicked in the face if they don't. It's amazing how the steps are coming back to me. I haven't danced the mambo since my senior year as an undergrad. In fact, I don't think I've danced much at all since then. I definitely feel rusty and rigid, but at least I remember what I'm doing. Nate doesn't feel as smooth as he once was either, but he does feel a whole lot stronger than he was in high school. As the song continues, the dance becomes easier. Nate's leading cues start to feel familiar and comfortable again. It's like reliving a memory, but in a totally different world. From what I can see in my peripheral vision, almost everyone has stopped dancing and is circled around us to watch. The crowd spreads out, giving us the entire center stage of the room. Dancing with Nate brings back a flood of memories. All that time together rehearsing for recitals, competitions, musicals, and all those dates we went on. Who else were we ever going to be with? I remember how exciting it was, how thrilling. And then the song ends. Nate scoops me into a low dip. The crowd cheers and whistles and claps. For a moment we both freeze, just staring at each other and breathing hard. With a wide smile, Nate lifts me up to my feet to face our audience. He lifts our hands as high as they will go. Thank you very much, he yells, in a horrible Elvis impersonation. I roll my eyes and laugh. A hip-hop song rumbles the room, and the massive space we cleared immediately fills with bodies, and the normal jiving resumes. See, aren't you glad we did that? Nate asks, wiping a stream of sweat from his forehead. I nod, trying to bring my breathing back to normal. That was awesome, Nate. Thanks. We're not as good as we were, though, he points out. Yeah, I know, I agree. But you're stronger now. You lifted me so well. Nate smirks. You must weigh less. He scrubs his head to relieve it from more perspiration. And actually, you look like you do, though I don't know how that's possible. I smile back at him. Nope, don't think so. You've just got more meat, I say, giving him a firm pat on the chest. Thanks. I can see he's truly pleased with the compliment. Nate's song request sets a trend for the rest of the evening. Unexpected songs from a dozen genres are represented throughout the night. I wonder if Nate bribed the DJ to do this. Whenever there's a swing or salsa or jazz number, Nate and I find each other and clear half the floor. How riveting it is! When was the last time I had good hard fun? Not since the war began, that's for sure. Ah, this place, this night, this dance floor. It almost feels like magic, like the war is just a bad memory. I don't know how many new people I meet in the first hour, but I love every minute of it. This is one of those nights where no one can do wrong. Euphoria smothers the air and everyone treats everyone else as if what they have to say is of utmost interest. Sometimes I switch partners 3 times in a song. Everybody's doing it. 2 men in particular hang around me more often than not. Brent, a tall brunette with tight curly hair, and Sam, a stocky blonde. I like the way Brent dances with his upper body, and Sam has me roaring with laughter at his jokes. I even bump into Randy now and then, and we dance a couple of slow songs together. I enjoy having Randy near. He doesn't demand my attention like Nate does, but he's still cheerful and fun. Molly Sanders hangs around Randy like a flea to honey. Whenever he dances with anyone but her, she watches him like a hawk. I can't help but wonder where Jack and Lexi went. Whoa, I just thought of the Colonel as Jack. That's different. I figure I'll be able to spot him since he's taller than most. But there's so much moshing and body surfing going on, it's impossible to find anyone. An exhausting jumping song ends with everyone gasping for air. The DJ announces the next number will be a ballroom number, the waltz. Ignoring the groans around me, I search the throng of people for Nate. But then I remember, Nate hates the waltz. Come to think of it, it's what our first juvenile argument was about. Feeling a little disappointed, I look around, wondering who might know the waltz. Then, as if appearing out of thin air, Jack is in front of me, holding out his hand. "Would you like to dance?" he asks. The music begins its gentle time. Jack's face reflects all the colors from the disco lights above, and his chocolate eyes look soft but vibrant. I struggle to put a word to the look, but I can't. "Sara?" Jack prods. "Oh, of course, Colonel. Do you know the waltz?" "I do," he says. He slips his arm around my waist and clasps his other hand in mine. Before my hand can reach his shoulder, he leads me to the front and side and back in a circular waltz. It's a different kind of leading than I'm used to, gentle but sure. Unlike Nate's leading, which is almost forceful. Jack is so much taller than me that my head just reaches the bottom of his vast chest. This distracts me so much that I have to force myself to look up in order to keep my feet going correctly. But then all I can see is his broad shoulders, and I'm keenly aware that my hand is resting on one. To my utter embarrassment, I skip a step and mess up our rhythm. "Excuse me," Jack says. "I'm probably not at the level you're used to." "Oh no, you're great. That was my fault. I seem to be a little distracted," I admit. "What's distracting you?" he asks as he spins me around in a circle. I wish I could avoid blushing, but unfortunately that never happens. I force a smile. "Never mind. Tell me something about yourself, Colonel. I'm sure I can handle conversation better than my own thoughts." "First, Sara, will you do me a favor?" he asks, as he leads our step in a new direction. "Of course," I reply, not knowing if I really mean it. "Call me Jack." "Oh, yes, I can do that. I'm sorry. It's just not natural for me," I confess. "I can change that," he says, locking his gaze in mine. I blush again. "Seriously, Sara, over that? Get a grip." "So what would you like to know?" he says, feigning oblivion to my sudden rosy cheeks. "Well, how long have you been in the army?" I ask. What a boring question. Why am I so much wittier with everyone else? "As long as I can remember. I grew up in the army. My father was Gerard Haskins." Gerard Haskins? That name sounds familiar. Who is he? And then I gasp out loud as it all comes together. Gerard Haskins was the 5-star general of the army, the general who led the U.S. into their successful attacks on Iran, Cuba, and Poland. So successful that the country surrendered. Gerard Haskins was the general who was known for his immeasurable expertise in strategy of combat. He was the general who was assassinated in his sleep 6 months ago. I swallow hard. "He was an incredible man," I say. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you," says Jack. "You're an incredible leader yourself. From what I hear, your reputation is impeccable." "Thank you," Jack says again, looking a little surprised. "But that sounds a little too generous." "Not at all," I counter. "Whenever your name comes up in conversation, I'm guaranteed to hear things like reliable, tough but respectful, demands the best of you, honest, gets the job done, and—" "Thank you," Jack interjects. "And," I make a point to continue, "you can also lift more pounds than 3 men combined." I finish with a wide smile. Jack ducks his head a bit and chuckles. "You've heard all of this, have you?" he asks, looking back at me. "Well, not the last part," I admit, "but I've actually seen that, so I know it's true." Jack smiles a brilliant smile. "You are one large man, Colonel," I say, almost as an afterthought. Jack's smile broadens. He looks amused. Am I flirting? Nah, everything I said was true. People really do talk about him that way. I want to explain how indebted to him I still feel for coming to my rescue on my first day here at Big Rock, but I don't quite know how to express that. Jack's smile fades, but his eyes glow. He looks directly at me again with that same familiar stare. It's impossible to look away. Does he realize he does this a lot? Now I have to concentrate on my steps again. I count the beats in my head, hoping my racing heart will slow to the rhythm of the waltz. It doesn't work. Blast it all, when will this song end? I've danced with impossibly gorgeous, luscious men before, haven't I? Oh, Sara, you really need to get a hold of yourself. No matter how hard I try to think clearly, my thoughts just vanish into nothing. All I can do is feel Jack's hand on my waist getting warmer as the dance progresses. And his eyes, they're polarizing. How does he do that? All I can do is stare at them. I barely notice the strain in my neck. Jack himself seems perfectly at ease. His movements are swift and his steps are certain. Whenever he lets go of my waist, giving me the cue to spin under his hand, I feel his eyes watching me. Of course, I could just be imagining all this. And then, one coherent thought comes to me. Get a new partner, Sara, before you fall on your face. Fortunately, the long number ends, so my wish is granted. When the music stops, I drop my hands, and Jack drops his. Thank you, sir. Jack, I mean. That was a real pleasure. Ugh, why am I being so blasted formal? A slow song comes on, an old Shania Twain tune. Jack wraps his arms around my waist with a new sense of urgency. Won't you dance with me again? He asks, his voice low and tempting. We talked about me, but not about you. My heart sputters and suddenly I'm out of breath. Jack is much closer to me now than he was while we were dancing. I'm sorry, Jack, I whisper, but I've already promised this dance to someone else. Oh, he says, immediately pulling back. We both turn to see Randy standing a few feet away, watching us with interest. And that concludes Chapter 17. I know it was short. I really wish that I could record more than one episode a week. Many of you have asked me about that. But here's the thing. I've got to keep my day job. I'm a writer. I've got to have my day job. One day, though, this will be my day job and not my night job. And then maybe I can record 2 episodes a week, but for now, we're going to have to stick with 1. I do have something unique for next episode, though. In Chapter 18, there's a song in there, and so I wrote the lyrics for it. But then when I was thinking about recording it for my podcast, I thought, well, I can't just read the song. I got to sing the song. What do you do with a song? You sing it. So I wrote a song. I don't really consider myself a songwriter, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I hope you are happy with it too. And I hope you come back next week for Chapter 18, which is called Magical Melody. Until then, take care.